Astrology can be a tool that you use to plan your life. The universe isn't just out there, it's interacting with you. Claim your power by embracing the unknown. This is Tracy with Tracy Talks, and I'm here to ignite your curiosity. Don't just listen, embrace it. Isn't it interesting when things show up in your life and they find you? It's not necessarily that I was seeking astrology. It was that the conditions were right for me to dive deeper into it. It was about 5 years ago now. We had all entered into this new environment where the world had shut down. And it was interesting because when you were looking at what other people were doing on social media, it was really an opportunity to find new hobbies, find new interests that felt satisfying. I found a creator as they just appeared in my feed, and I don't believe it was a coincidence. And this astrology creator has a very systematic and methodical way of talking about astrology in aspects and how our birth chart isn't just a static chart. It is a starting point on a map, and the chart is living and breathing essentially as we do. It changes and grows as we grow in life. When I started to consume this information, it was more of just a way to pass time. But as I continued to listen, then the information begins to weave together. It takes a different shape and different form in our consciousness when we continue to learn and understand and then apply the information. And that happens with any type of learning. The chart is a snapshot of the sky, the moment that we're born and we enter into the world. At that specific moment, the planets are locked in and can reveal more information about our potential, about how we show up in the world. The deeper that someone gets into astrology, there is a greater understanding that everything is still moving. The planets are moving and rotating, the earth is moving and rotating, and all of this motion is happening around us. And we are not separate from that. We are a part of this energetic network. There were so many times in my life when I was experiencing difficult points in my life, and they were periods. And I think that each one of us can really look back at significant moments and look at those periods and recognize how difficult that period was and how we felt during that period. And we also can look back at periods when we had something really great happen. Something wonderful happened. We gave birth to a child. We met a really important person. We got the job that we had always dreamed of. And we have all of these moments that we can look back and reflect on. And the good moments, we don't replay those over. We don't try to recreate those good moments, even though maybe we should. But certainly I know that those difficult times in our life where it feels like the world is against us and it feels like things aren't working out and we give 110%, and yet we don't get anywhere. We don't have any progress, and it seems very defeating. And it wasn't until I started to dive deeper into astrology and I started to understand what a transit means and what it feels like. And there's a lot of moving parts in understanding this. But essentially, we have our chart, and that is that static map. It is the map that doesn't move. And then we have the planets where they are in the sky right now. And so essentially what a transit is, it's taking your chart, that static map, and then the current planets are talking to and interacting with your chart. You, essentially you, because the chart that we see on a screen, the sun sign, the moon sign, all of these things is essentially us and our map and how we can show up in the world. And it's not 100%, but yet when I have looked at my own archetypes and how I show up and how I react and how I behave and all of those, what seem to be ingrained qualities, when somebody who doesn't know me can point those out. And the transit is where these planets in the sky are interacting and have a higher probability of influencing me. And maybe I've lost some of you here, but what this knowledge and understanding has provided me is with this feeling that there have been periods in my life where things were out of my control and things felt hard and they felt difficult. But the world wasn't actually against me. That there are interactions and energies that are beyond our control that can influence us. And these transits are periods of time that we can now map out and look at and understand. There were situations in my past where it just felt like I was being punished, that I was doing something wrong, that the world was against me. And that was before my understanding of astrology. That was before I can look at the planetary weather. I recently took a hiatus from recording. And I had some interactions with what was going on in the sky. And it literally was sucking the energy out of me. Before astrology, I would have been worried. I would have thought that something was wrong. I would have thought that the world was coming to an end. And I would have had all of these thoughts that spiraled me into something that really wasn't happening. Instead, I was waiting for the energy to let up. I was waiting for it to release. I was waiting for this moment to be over. That now with this knowledge of understanding that there are transits, there are periods of heightened intensity, good and bad, and how can I use that and how can I flow with that instead of fighting against it? Instead of feeling like the world is out to get me, instead of wondering, why don't I have any energy? Well, I don't have any energy because this interaction in my chart is trying to show me something. And there's information there, there's knowledge there. But when we spiral in our head, when we think worst case scenarios. When we focus on all of these things that don't really matter, we miss the valuable piece of information that is trying to come to us. I can actively plan for moments that can be harder for me to show up in the world. Before I knew astrology, I didn't know that there were cycles. I didn't understand that there were better times, optimal times. There was different energies. I didn't understand how to capitalize on these periods that were potentially good and these periods that were going to be potentially more difficult. I am a person who has this potential to really engage with fear. I am someone who has a lot of fear energy in my design. And now that I know that, now that I understand, it is oftentimes an irrational fear, I can actively work with that energy. I also understand now that there could be periods in time in the future where fear is going to be something that's going to be at the forefront of my mind and of my experience. And how can I understand that? And how can I work with that? And how can I see beyond that? And even if I look around in the world right now, fear is a very influential tool. Fear alone can motivate people to do heinous things. And fear can motivate people to react and buy and make choices that they would not necessarily make if they were not in a state of fear. Knowing my chart and understanding how cycles change and influence and how cycles come around and we see themes. Because if we have the understanding that there is going to be a period that has heightened potential for you to feel a certain way, for me to feel a heightened sense of safety or a heightened sense of fear, and how can I use that and work with that so I can live in a more balanced state of mind. And even those periods now where I have a heightened awareness of maybe something good can happen or things just seem to flow easier. That understanding and that knowledge then allows me to really maximize that period of time. I mean, if you were told that you're going to have 6 great months, wouldn't you just run with that? Wouldn't you just put all of your energy into whatever it is? Part of me really wishes that I had this information when I was younger. But again, things come to us when they're supposed to. We have the knowledge and understanding, and they come to us in the perfect time. However, this would have helped me when I was going through difficult times. Just to know that this feeling is temporary. This feeling will be ending. And how can I just be in this moment and not be mad about it, not be sad about it, not be afraid, not be angry? I mean, it would have been so helpful to have that information where I could look on a calendar and think, okay, this 3-month period, it could be really tough. And I'm not going to feel like getting out of my house. And I'm not going to feel like interacting with people. And I'm not going to feel like doing all of my normal things. So what can I do during this period? What can I focus on that is going to bring me some peace, that is going to bring me some understanding? Astrology at this point is a part of my daily life. I work with it. I don't live by it. It doesn't keep me from leaving the house. But if I know that there is a potential for heightened anger in myself or in others, if there are interactions that can easily get out of control, if I have that understanding and information when I start the day, I change how I show up. I change what I expect. I change and work and try to be in the flow. Things aren't always going to work out in life when we want them to work out. And there are cycles, there are timings, there are opportunities, there are moments that are better than others. Astrology has provided me with that tool, with that understanding. Some people seem luckier. Well, they just are. And we can't be mad about somebody being luckier than you are. I can understand and know, where do I have potential to be lucky? Where do I have the potential for things to work out? What are those best moments for me? Astrology is so much more than reading your sun sign in the paper or online. It is a living, breathing tool that each of us can use and work with and understand, just so maybe life feels a little easier. Thank you for listening to this episode of Tracy Talks. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with others who would enjoy listening to this podcast. Friends can find Tracy Talks available on iTunes, Spotify, Substack, and YouTube. Hit me up on Instagram and Facebook at More Tracy Talks. And until next time, we meet again.